Excellent. So this meeting is being recorded. We're so excited that we have teachers and students that will be able to view this session after today, after the live event today. So just a few housekeeping notes. Please feel free to use the chat box to ask any questions for the panel. You can use that throughout any time, any part of the session today, and we'll make sure we get to those at the end. And the chat box is in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. So for attendees that are on, all of your lines are muted, and you don't have access to your video camera, but you can communicate with us through the chat box. And the meeting is being recorded and will be available after the session. If anybody has any tech questions, you can send me, Stephanie Karpowitz, the host, any technology questions if you need any tech support. So with that, I will turn it over to JA New Jersey's president, Catherine Malone.
Thank you, Stephanie. You're wonderful. Hello and welcome. I'm Catherine Malone, president of JA New Jersey, and on behalf of our spectacular team, we wish you good health and hope that you and your families are doing well. Today, you will meet outstanding leaders representing career pathways in technology, cybersecurity, audit, risk, ethics, and compliance from an exceptional company called Realogy, a real estate services firm located in Madison, New Jersey. Our panel includes Nisha, who is Realogy's Chief Technology Officer and a member of our board of directors. We thank you, Nisha, for your leadership and support. And to our young people watching, we want you to know that our board, staff, mentors, and corporate partners are here to support you and to help you become the very best versions of yourselves. So we thank you for tuning in as you are our future leaders, and we want to introduce you to the best companies to work for, like Realogy. So let's welcome our panel, Nisha, Becca, Juan, Paula, and today's moderator, Swathi. Swathi is a sophomore at Cornell University studying computer science and joined our team as an intern, developing and facilitating exciting initiatives like our Crack the Code coding workshops for New Jersey students. During the summer months, Swathi serves as a cybersecurity intern at Verizon and had also interned with the state of New Jersey CISO at the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. So without further ado, we'll turn it over to Swathi.
Thank you, Catherine. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Swathi, and I'm really excited to get into our questions for our panelists today, but we'll first have each of them introduce themselves. So Paula, could you please start us off?
Hi, I am so excited to be here. JA is very near and dear to my heart. Years ago, I participated as a volunteer, so it's so refreshing to be here and to talk to our students because you guys are really the future. So I'm super excited to spend some time with you guys along with my esteemed colleagues. Again, my name is Paula Young. I work for Realogy Holdings Corp. as a Senior Director of Ethics and Compliance. I've been with Realogy for about 14 years, and pretty much my job is to help build the Ethics and Compliance program. Actually, when I started at the inception of Realogy, and so I help build a program from the ground up, so it's very near and dear to my heart. I like to be called Paula for the people. Many people like to say that about me. Why? Because I believe in the power of the people. And that's what ethics and compliance is all about, really empowering our people to abide by laws, be our risk managers across the organization. So I really am excited about the role that I play at Realogy in ethics and compliance. Quickly, I'll tell you a little bit about Realogy. Many people might say, Realogy, Realogy, what really is that? The truth is that the name Realogy means the science of real estate, and we are the leading provider of residential real estate across the United States. We have franchise offices and we have owned offices along with title companies and a mobility company. So you may not know the name Realogy, but you probably have heard of Coldwell Banker, Century 21, ERA, Better Homes and Gardens, Corcoran. Those are some of our brands. And our focus is to empower real estate professionals and strengthening the community by delivering exceptional support for, again, real estate services. So that's a little bit about me and a little bit about Realogy.
Thanks, Paula. We'll have Becca next.
All right, thank you. Paula, that was a great intro and great description of Realogy. Thank you. So my name is Becca Kinney. I am the Senior Vice President, Head of Internal Audit at Realogy. I've been with the company just under a year now, but I have, 20 plus years of experience in risk management and internal audit. And at Realogy, my role, I oversee kind of 3 different pillars. One is our enterprise risk management, also referred to as ERM, which looks at the kind of top 11 or so risks for the company. We report directly to the board of directors and giving them comfort that management has identified the key risks and has the right controls and processes and mitigants in place to manage those risks. So that's ERM. I also oversee a team of internal audit professionals. And similarly in that role, we go out and perform audits, understand the risks that are affecting the company, and perform audits, again, to see that the controls are operating effectively and in place. And then my third group is our franchise audit team, FAS, and that is a team of auditors who visit our affiliates and our franchise offices and perform audits there to ensure that they are meeting the standards and the requirements laid out in our contracts with the franchisees.
Great, and we'll hear from Juan next.
Thank you, Swati. And Paula, that was a great introduction as well. I also did not know that Realogy was the science of real estate, and that makes perfect sense. So that's definitely a new learning opportunity for me there. Thank you for that. So my name is Juan Morales. I am Realogy's Chief Information Security Officer. Essentially what that means is that I'm responsible for the protection of Realogy's assets from cybersecurity risk. And cybersecurity risk comes in many forms. You hear about hackers, but there's other areas of cybersecurity that not necessarily directly have anything to do with technology. So part of my function also includes a lot of regulatory compliance and understanding how regulations may impact what we do from a cybersecurity perspective and how to protect data and other critical assets for organization. But I also manage the technical aspects of cybersecurity as well. So my team is in charge of our security operations monitoring, incident response, vulnerability management, forensics, e-discovery, awareness and training our employees to recognize potential risks that come with cybersecurity, product security, building security into the foundational controls of the products that we create for our agents. So there's a lot in cybersecurity that can take you in many directions. Again, from a management perspective, in risk management and assessing third-party risk, all the way down to the actual hands-on keyboard and the technical aspect that comes with cybersecurity. Thank you.
And finally, we have Nisha.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nisha Leite. I serve as Realogy's Chief Technology Officer, where I have direct responsibility and oversight for building Realogy's digital transformation strategy. In my team, I have direct responsibility for cybersecurity. So Juan is a member of my team, infrastructure and operations, IT service delivery, project and product delivery management oversight, and IT finance. So that is the purview of my team. Additional areas in technology are product, which is building tools that assist our clients, our agents, and our franchisees, as well as data and artificial intelligence. I have over 20 years experience in technology, most of which was spent in cybersecurity and data privacy. I'm very, very excited to be a member of this panel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for your introduction. So we will get straight into our first question, which is, what did you study in college and how did your education in that field complement your current career? So if anyone would like to get us started.
So I'll start. I wanted my entire life to be an attorney. And when I was in the 11th grade, my dad said to me, no lawyers. The US produces enough doctors and lawyers. You're really, really great at math and science, so you're going to be an engineer. I had an opportunity that summer to participate in a program at MIT, which was like the most amazing experience. And I decided to pursue computer science. So I was a computer science major in undergrad, and then my master's degree is in telecommunication networks and electrical engineering. I absolutely positively hated computer science in undergrad. I wanted to switch to systems engineering, which is kind of like a more broader general engineering. And my parents were like, who's paying for the extra money for you to continue this and get your assistant degree? Because it would have been, a few extra dollars with the extra courses. And the summer between junior and senior year, I was placed randomly in an information security department. And there began my career and my love and my passion. So what I loved most about information security was the ability to combine technology and business and risk. How my degree prepared me for the role that I have now, both the computer science degree as well as the telecommunications degree, is a broad enough level for engineering, for math, for science. And then on the telecommunication side, the focus on infrastructure and operations.
I can jump in next if that's okay. So similar to Nishira, I also did not start off wanting to be in technology or in cybersecurity. I'll take it back a little bit, even back to grammar school. I was always wanted to be a paleontologist, but lo and behold, obviously you grow up and sometimes those things don't come to fruition. But my story, I think it's interesting, is that once I graduated high school, I actually had no idea what I wanted to do after school. I didn't have at that time the means to actually go to college, but I had an opportunity to go to technical school. As a matter of fact, I was not even a computer expert once I was out of high school. I didn't even know how to turn on a computer, and it just so happens that computers came second nature to me. So I actually went to technical school and I got a diploma in IT support. So I was able to actually spend a little bit of time right out of high school working and building my experience, but I always wanted to go to school. So when the opportunity actually came for me to go to school, I actually studied information technology at University of Phoenix, which back then an online school was never unheard of, and now all day we're doing nothing but virtual learning. So it's funny how that came around full circle. But obviously I always wanted to excel and do more. So eventually, later on in my career, I actually attended university as well. I actually have a master's degree from cybersecurity from Fordham University. And I've also achieved several cybersecurity certifications that have allowed me to take that knowledge and actually apply it to what I do. But experience is definitely a big factor in success in cybersecurity. And you are going to learn a lot of fundamentals, a lot of knowledge in school, which is a great experience to have. There's also a lot of learning that you can do on your own. There's so many resources available, but definitely school is important to build those foundations that you need in order to move on to the next stages in your career.
I'd like to go next, only so that I can piggyback off of Juan, because I had no idea that our backgrounds were somewhat similar. My education journey, I didn't take that traditional route either, due to some economic hardships that my family faced. I had to start working a full-time job during and after high school immediately. But in doing that, having those right connections, having that right mindset is so key. Because one of the jobs I had was working at a bank, and I worked in the corporate trust and estates department, and one of the attorneys there, I didn't even realize that he was mentoring me, but he was at the time, and he said, you should go to paralegal school. And at the time, I worked full time and went to paralegal school, and that really triggered my love of law. And from there, I took a path of focused education, achieving various professional certifications, becoming certified in many different areas, and I continued my education. And the hands-on knowledge while you're getting your education was really invaluable to me, and that helped me to continue to grow my career. And I like to say that I attended the University of Life because currently my role relates to legal, it relates to compliance, meaning helping people comply with the laws. I work closely with HR, I work with employee relations, and so in my function, I get to really oversee so many things and work with employees to help them to be able to speak up for the company when they see something that isn't right. And so my passion, again, with my education, was able to marry each other well. And I really love what I do right now.
All right, I guess I'm up next. Already this panel has been really informative to me. I'm learning a lot about my colleagues who I spend a lot of time with every day. So this is really beneficial for me too. So I, probably like many students, didn't have a clue what I wanted to do when I went to college. I thought it was really unfair that at the age of 17, we had to pick a career for the rest of our lives. It's the way I looked at it at the time. But I followed my brother's footsteps. He was a engineer. He was an engineer at Cornell. So I followed his footsteps. I went into chemical engineering, and about half a semester in, I decided that was the wrong path for me. And so I quickly switched, through a lot of discussions with my parents who know me best. They suggested accounting and said, Becky, you've always been analytical. You've always been good at math. You should think about accounting. And so I switched into accounting. I ended up graduating with an accounting degree. I'm now a CPA. And from there, I went to work for one of the big four accounting firms. It's kind of just what you do. It's kind of the normal career path after you get your accounting undergrad. And so I worked as an auditor, financial statement auditor, for 8-9 years. And while on maternity leave after my first son was born, I kind of, again, had this moment of what am I going to do with myself? I don't really think I enjoy financial statement auditing. And a mentor at the firm I was at suggested that I try internal audit. And so I went into internal audit. And what I learned was the internal audit is really, it's a collaborative function where you work with business owners to figure out how to make the company better, like at the highest level. Financial audit, I got to point out all the things that were wrong with the company and then walk away from it. And an internal audit, I got to take the things that were wrong with the company and come up with solutions to improve the company. And I really liked that kind of different mindset and collaborative. Paula talks about being, the Paula of the people and here to serve the company and make the company a better place. And I feel the same way about internal audit. And so that's why I work a lot with my other panel members here in that regard, and kind of understanding issues, but understanding what are the risks at the company and coming up with solutions to help mitigate those risks and make things better so that we're a stronger organization.
Great. Thank you all for sharing. It's really great to hear the kind of variety in each of your journeys and how exactly you got to your position today. So kind of tying more into Realogy, could you all tell us a little bit more about what does cybersecurity, risk management, and ethics and compliance at Realogy look like in your eyes?
I'll take the first pass at this, and I'm sure others will have their point of view. At Realogy, these three functions really work closely together in what we call an integrated assurance approach. Like I said, I oversee enterprise risk management, which identifies the top 11 risks to our organization. And cyber privacy and security are one of those top risks that we report to the board of directors. The board's very interested in, wants to make sure management's taking the right approach and responding to those risks. And I work very closely with Nisha, with Juan, with Paula, and making sure that we have the right mitigations, making sure that we are reacting appropriately. But even beyond just cybersecurity, as we think about enterprise risk management, internal audit, ethics, compliance, we've taken an integrated approach to risk management, and making sure that as we're each going out and understanding risks in our functional areas, that we're working together and hearing the same, first of all, grading those risks along the same kind of nomenclature, but also working together to make sure that we are prioritizing and rating and addressing those risks similarly. Anyone want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would add, to Becca's point about kind of an integrated function within the three supporting each other. In cybersecurity, we talk about layered security approach and having different layers so that we have, some defenses where if a malicious actor, once again, it has to go through a couple layers, but gives an overall protection. So in this sense, looking at it from a organizational perspective, these functions all complement each other to create those layers so that there's not a single view of risk or a single view of issues, but that we have other parts of the area validating what we're seeing, complement each other and come up with solutions on how to mitigate the risk. So it's definitely a collaboration between these functions. I don't think one function can stand alone and be successful. It really requires essentially cooperation from all three to be successful.
And then I would add that that's where our ethics and compliance program comes in, because our program is very people-centric, right? So you can have all the policies in place, but if those policies don't matter to the people within your organization, then they're useless. So in addition to risk management, another function that ethics and compliance plays is that we help our employees embrace those policies, help those policies make sense to our employees. You know, Becca is the head of risk management, but I like to say that every employee is a risk manager, because those are the people who are working at their desk, seeing where the holes or gaps might be. And if they're empowered enough to come forward, then as an organization, we can come together as an integrated assurance team to help mitigate those risks that our employees have shared with us or that we've come to find out. And so we are definitely a powerful team, but it's really all about our people. And it's also really helping our people to understand that they have a voice and what they bring to the table is valuable to the company. And we aim to help them to really, again, not be afraid to speak up. Really, we embrace that notion, if you see something, say something. And again, that's part of the ethics and compliance program, just one part of it. Again, embracing our people, empowering them to understand the policies and bring that all together so that we can protect our company and our company's reputation.
I don't have anything to add. I think the three of them said everything perfectly.
Perfect. It's really great to hear about the collaboration between these different groups, and thank you for going through that with us. So the pandemic has obviously changed a lot in the ways that we work and how we're learning every day. So in what ways, if any, have you seen COVID-19 affect each of your functions, or has it kind of affected your work directly in any way?
So I can start. I would say, similar to everybody else on the panel and to the students on the call, no one saw Corona coming. And I would say the IT team at Realogy did a really great job in enabling our remote workforce. So I would say the first 2-ish months of Corona, it was a ton of support. What equipment do we need? How do employees get the equipment? A ton of calls, increasing calls to our service desk. I would say, and I'll let Juan speak to this because this is his area now, on the cyber side, definitely a ton of additional questions and requests from our board about how would Realogy, how would we respond to it? How are we going to react, respond, and recover? That's the actual technical terms. In the event that the company were to be hacked, or we less secure if folks aren't in the office? Juan, do you want to add any more insight into that?
Yeah, I was going to add that, the risks to an organization I think are never static, right? And as the organization has to take risk in order to be successful and to move forward and to show progress. Sometimes the world changes and it introduces its own level of risk. So in this situation, obviously COVID changed the dynamics in the way in which most organizations were working. While we had the ability to work remotely before, having 95% plus of our workforce work remotely at one time was something definitely new that could potentially introduce new risks to organizations. So from a cybersecurity perspective, we have to be forward thinking and try to anticipate what those risks may be, and then introduce the right level of controls to potentially mitigate some of those risks. So, we already had a lot of controls that were protecting our mobile workforce prior to COVID, but there were just a couple of things that we had to tweak in order to ensure that we had the most coverage now that 99% of our employees were working remote. So it's always having to try to anticipate as much as you can what risks may come from, again, the changing dynamics of the world and just business in general, and trying to have the right balance of controls to mitigate some of that risk.
I'll just follow on from what Juan said. I took a very similar kind of approach, but on a broader standpoint, in that we quickly needed to reassess our risks, reassess the risk for the organization. We did kind of a relook at the top ERM risks and made sure that we understood how COVID was affecting those risks. And in a lot of ways, we actually didn't know how COVID would react or how it would affect our risks. So we had, some risk where we said, well, currently we think it's this, but looking forward, we think it might be heightened or lowered or whatnot. And some of that, over time, we have learned that we didn't have a very good crystal ball, and we didn't actually know how well or how much those risks would be impacted. And in some places we got it right, but that was kind of first and foremost, was just to revisit the risks for the organization and think about how COVID was impacting the risks, along with the follow-on. And once you identify the risks, you can kind of understand where the what controls need to be put in place and that sort of thing, and audit against them. We definitely revisited our audit plan and internal audit and changed some of our audits to react to those risks. We did a couple additional things. One, and this year I've talked about increased focus on technology and people being home. We definitely did an audit around what's called VPN, or the mechanisms that people use, employees use to access our intranet and our internal network. We did an audit around that because we saw it as a heightened risk. So it definitely impacted our audit plan, just much more tactically. I said part of my team audits our franchisees and affiliates, and they would spend 40 weeks out of the year actually visiting the offices. And so we had to change that. And at a moment's notice, they stopped traveling and stayed home, and that team had to learn new ways of auditing, rethink about kind of how they do their audits, how they interact with our affiliates, and just change their approach from a customer service standpoint. So it's affected us in lots of different ways, but I am very proud that Realogy has reacted so quickly and so effectively.
Yeah, and that's so true. There's, again, so many components, right? From the technical side, getting people set up at home and things of that nature. And again, it all rolls back to our people. And so from the ethics and compliance side, we partnered very quickly with risk management and with HR on how to care for our people during this time. In addition to within our hotline, we quickly pivoted and added a new violation, which was COVID-19. And there people can report anonymously if they saw that others were not abiding by our face covering policy. So we had to quickly implement that policy and make sure that employees were following that policy, because it was, a matter of life and death for many people. And so within ethics and compliance, we had to apply that right away. And we partnered again with various functions within the organization to roll out that policy and to have a place for employees to report violations of that policy and work with HR in order to mitigate that.
Great, thank you all for sharing. So the next question is, what is the biggest challenge in your field at the moment? If you're able to pinpoint maybe one or a couple different challenges that you're seeing, that would be great if you could share those with us.
Yep. From a cybersecurity perspective, our biggest challenge is always trying to anticipate what's going to be the next technique that's going to potentially impact us. What's the vulnerability that we have to, fix? Who is coming after us? Where are critical assets, and how are we protecting them? Do we have the right level of controls? So that is one of the challenging things. I think what keeps cybersecurity interesting is that it's always changing. From day to day, you're going to have a new attack that's going to be created by some malicious group, and now you have to figure out how you're going to protect the organization against that. So there's certainly no rest in cybersecurity. It's extremely dynamic field, and there's plenty of work to keep you busy for many, many years. There's so many problems, fundamental problems with cybersecurity that are still not fixed. There's ways to fix them, but there's so many challenges from cultural perspectives and how much an organization is willing to invest in fixing these problems. And it goes a lot into the risk management aspect, trying to understand what are the real risks for an organization, and do we need to invest in fixing things like that. So long story short, it's an extremely dynamic field that is always going to challenge you. New challenges come out sometimes even within the hour. So from that perspective, it's what I have to deal with from the protection perspective. The other side that I want to point out is keeping my team engaged, keeping the quality talent that I have engaged and wanting to work for organizations. So there's so many opportunities in cybersecurity that in a way, organizations are fighting for that top talent, and there's definitely a lot of good talent out there. And I think now, as the work situation has changed to allow for more remote flexibility, the talent pool is more accessible to a lot more organizations, because now I don't have to only limit myself to a region. So I don't only have to recruit talent from New Jersey. I can now expand even across and overseas if necessary. So from that, again, it's still a challenge though, because everybody's fighting for the same top talent. So really retention, training, and keeping my people engaged are one of the other challenges I deal with.
Yeah, I'll add on to that one. Talent is a huge discussion around Realogy. We sat through board and audit committee meetings earlier this week, and it's a topic that came up in a number of places. Just there's a benefit in us being remote, and that we can attract talent from all over the country. You don't need to physically be located in Madison anymore, but that can be a risk to us as an organization as well. In terms of the things that are affecting my work at this point, it is similar to Juan. It's ever-changing risk. Things are moving very quickly. I don't expect that to ever change. We need to constantly reassess what our risks are as an organization and how we respond. The other thing is that, when you think about audit, I think a lot of people think about kind of financial audit. And I said that I'm a CPA and accountant by background, but I do very little math or accounting or that kind of thing at this point. I do a lot of kind of understanding risks, understanding business processes, and the world is becoming more and more technological. And so all business processes at this point are just, most business processes at this point have a heavy technology focus. And so that's something I've been speaking a lot with my teams about is let's not have technology auditors and business process auditors, but all of our auditors need to have a component of both of that. Just even within our financial statements, it's not just accounting, there's a system that supports the accounting. And so, that's kind of a challenge and something that we've been working through is how do we make our auditors well-rounded to understand the technology component of everything that we do.
And from a talent perspective, I really appreciate that. We have great talent at Realogy, as you can see from this panel. My esteemed colleagues, who I love every one of them, but attracting talent. And when we do that, maintaining our culture, right? When we were in our four walls, we had our mission statement plastered everywhere. We had signage everywhere about who we are as Realogy, what our goals were and what our culture is. However, now we don't have those four walls, right? People are working from their couches, from their kitchen tables, from their home offices. How do we maintain that culture of ethics and compliance and translating that into the non-traditional office? And so one of the challenges from an ethics and compliance standpoint is reminding employees that we are part of a global organization. We have policies and procedures that no matter where we're working, we still have to abide by and apply in our daily work. And so those are one of the challenges. And this year, one of our focuses is actually what I like to call the critical middle. Our managers who are working closely with their employees in a new remote environment, tapping into those managers and giving them the tools to help them build that culture, to help them maintain that culture of ethics and compliance within our organization, since we're no longer in those four walls anymore.
I would say, from my perspective, overall, largest technology challenge is to find and maintain the appropriate balance between tactical operations and the need to create disruptive technology to solidify our place as the leading real estate brokerage firm. So there's always the pull between keep the lights on, the things you need to do just to maintain technology and keep your employees up and running and keep your brokers and your agents up and running, while at the same time trying to stay competitive, understanding that regardless of whatever industry you're in, technology is going to be the primary thing that changes and disrupts the market. So how does Realogy keep the balance between both sides of the spectrum?
Great, thank you all for sharing. So we do have some high school students on the line. So what would you say is the best resource for high schoolers to explore cybersecurity, audit, or compliance further if they are interested in these areas?
I know it's a simple answer, but the internet. For cybersecurity, there's tons of resources, free resources, in order to dig in deeper into cybersecurity. I would suggest doing a simple Google search for, the top 50 cybersecurity conferences in the US, which is great now because obviously a lot of these conferences are being held remote, so you can essentially attend from anywhere. Some of these are, or most of these are actually free. Some of them are very low cost, no more than $100. And the level of content, it varies. Some are extremely technical, some are entry level content that really will cover everything in cybersecurity. Like I said before, some tracks are extremely technical, others are in the management side of cybersecurity, because there are really two tracks in cybersecurity. There's the management side and really understanding business and risk management, and then there's the more technical hands-on keyboard, like I said. But that is a great place to start. Just start searching for free resources on the internet. There's organizations that run cybersecurity boot camps, and as a matter of fact, a lot of scholarships for high school students in cybersecurity. So I think that's the best place to start. A simple Google search for anything related to cybersecurity, you will see tons of information. YouTube has tons of videos on technologies, on hacking, if you will. As a matter of fact, a lot of the tools that are used in the industry by both the good guys and the bad guys are freely available. If anybody ever wants to look at Kali Linux, you will get the full suite of tools that my team uses, and again, unfortunately, the malicious actors use, because they are really the same tools. The only difference here is the intent. One is the good intent of protection. The other one is unfortunately malicious. But all the tools that you need to learn cybersecurity are out there, and most of these are free. So definitely start in the internet.
Yeah, I agree. The internet's a great place to start. I would also say look at the resources at your school. And I know this is a little bit challenged right now, but to the extent your school has after-school clubs, or whether it be remote or in person or whatnot right now, take advantage of them. And Juan made reference to this, but I see a lot of value in kind of understanding the technical aspect of cyber, of internal audit, of accounting, or what have you, not just coming at it from a management standpoint. But I think that I'm a better auditor because at some point I did financial audit, because I understand the accounting, and even though that I don't want to be in those weeds and those details, it makes me better understand the processes if I have that foundation. But I just take advantage of all the resources that your school may give you. If you have family members, friends, acquaintances that have these professions, pick their brains, talk to them about what they do. Because as you're learning from this panel here, even though we all have very different backgrounds, we all come about it very differently in our work. However, we all have kind of the same common goal.
I would also suggest LinkedIn. So there are two components on the LinkedIn side. There is just taking LinkedIn Learning, right, which is a subscription, and your school may actually be able to offer you free access to LinkedIn Learning. And there are tons of courses, technology courses, audit stuff, risk and compliance, cyber, et cetera, just to kind of get like basic foundational knowledge. And then the other thing I would say is just sort of kind of scan the profiles in LinkedIn, and don't be afraid to reach into people, right? So I would say for each of our careers, specifically on the cyber and the technology track, there are multiple ways to get into the industry. And so while, yes, I was a, engineering major, but, everyone in cyber didn't necessarily go through engineering, and kind of see where your interests are at, where do they kind of match up with some of the folks you're reaching out to, rather that you identify in LinkedIn. And then the last thing is research the type of companies that you would like to work for, or that have cultures that appeal to you, and see who are the executives there on LinkedIn that have careers that kind of align with what you think your interests are, and feel free to reach out to them.
Perfect. Thank you all for sharing. And I definitely think that technology education is so accessible online. Being a computer science major myself, I'm constantly looking online for additional resources to help me with my classes. So definitely is very accessible to get into the field just from internet resources. So just a reminder to students, if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat and we can get those in as well. But just moving on to the next question we have prepared is, what advice would you give young people who are ready to take on the world? So what kind of advice would you give to your younger self if you could talk to your younger self?
I will start because I joke around and I say I remind myself of Elizabeth Warren. I have a plan for everything. And when I would say 16, 17, in my mind, I had my entire life planned. And so what I would tell my younger self is be prepared to change and to modify and to enjoy the being young, right? And enjoy the opportunities to learn and to be curious. And you have access, especially when you get to the university level, college level, et cetera, you have access to so many things. Explore every single thing your school has available. I mean, I'm not going to call it a free resource, but whatever it is your parents are paying for in tuition, explore every single thing, because the minute you get out of undergrad and masters and you have to actually start paying for courses, you won't quite have the opportunity to explore every single thing. So I would say anything that makes you curious, go after it, explore it, and just enjoy the time of life that you're in.
Yeah, I'd love to piggyback off of Nishira. I love that idea of change. Don't get stuck, doing what you think you should be doing or what your parents think you should be doing. Don't get stuck there. Change, as we've seen, is inevitable. It's a part of life. And even hard change can be good. Change homes, change schools, change majors, change your job. That's all fine, because things don't get better by chance, they get better by change. So I've learned from Nishira. She's mentored me, and I started employing one of the things that she suggested, which was every year she sits back and writes down what she did and what she would like to do going forward. And I started doing that. And I think she might even do it more than once a year. It might be once a quarter or something like that. I haven't gotten that great at it yet, but just writing down what I've done, what would I like to do, and see where I can now path my journey to go ahead and do that. So one of the things I've tasked myself for doing in 2021 is getting my real estate license. And so I've written that down in my journal. And so I'm going to go ahead and make that change and get my real estate license. And so in addition to that, I would just say, lastly, don't compare yourself to others. Do you?
Yeah, I would add or piggyback off what Paul was saying with regards to change. For me, I didn't start off as a cybersecurity professional. I was in the IT field, but I took a risk later on in my career to have a complete change in what I wanted to do. Now, while it was still technology related, cybersecurity was new to me, so I essentially started from the ground up as well. So definitely. Don't be afraid to take risks. Take calculated risks. You don't want to do anything that's obviously crazy and not thought out to the extent you can. But take calculated risk and gain experience in life by taking risks. You have to take risks in order to grow. You have to change in order to grow. And I think as unfortunately as we get older, the ability to take risks is reduced. So while you're young, have that opportunity to take risks. It's that calculated risk. Don't put yourself in danger. But absolutely embrace the fact that you can take and try different things without having to settle early on as to what you want to do.
I'm going to say it just a slightly different way, but you talk about taking risks. The other side of it is embrace the opportunities that you're given. So I've had a number of bosses along the way who have given me opportunities. And sometimes we put that in quotes and say, it's a great opportunity, Becca, and something I would never want to do. But I've tried to embrace every opportunity that's been given to me, at least try it. And if you hate it, then go back to what you were doing. But I try to embrace all the opportunities and some of those opportunities have been presented to me have led me to where I am today. And I'm really thankful that I've kept an open mind and taken on those opportunities.
Yeah, thank you all for such insightful advice, and definitely know that a lot of students would love to hear all the advice that you gave about risk taking and putting yourself out there. So kind of shifting towards career development, when you are looking to hire new employees, what are the most important aspects that you consider? And so what would you kind of recommend to the JA audience to focus on to prepare them for future careers and when they start applying to companies and seeking employment?
So I will start with this one because I feel really passionate on this. To me, it's not your straight A's. I mean, grades matter, of course, but it's not the straight A's. It's not all of your technical know-how. To me, it's really like, how hard of a worker are you? How devoted are you? How committed are you? You know, people who will put themselves out there and take risks but will give it 120% are the people who I look most for as I'm interviewing for positions. So to me, it's just as much about hard work as anything else.
I'll go next because I'm pretty passionate about this as well. I would say for me, when I'm hiring, the number one thing for me is cultural fit, and do I feel good energy? And I know that seems kind of crazy, like feeling and energy, but and Juan can attest to this. I say all the time, I don't want a single solitary jerk on my team. I feel that folks, you can always teach people things so you can learn like a technical skill, but it is really hard if you have someone who doesn't have the right fit for the organization to remove the toxicity that that person can cause in your organization at the time. So I would recommend to you guys is to, again, research the companies that you're looking into, see if their culture aligns with yours, see like what are some statements their leaders put out, and does it make you feel good? Would you be proud to work at that organization? And then when you're interviewing, be yourself, like present your total and your full self, not what you feel the interviewer wants to hear.
I would add to that from a cybersecurity perspective. You know, a lot of times I don't necessarily hire someone who's had in-depth experience or many years in cybersecurity. A lot of the people that we've hired recently have technology backgrounds, but are perhaps a database administrator or purely provided technical support. What interested about these candidates is that they were showing this passion, this drive to want to learn cybersecurity, and showed a genuine interest, because then they can tell me about the things they've done on their own to get better in cybersecurity. As I mentioned before, what are the conferences they've been attending? Are they building labs in their homes and testing things out and being curious? A lot of the success in cybersecurity comes with curiosity. You have to be curious in cybersecurity because you're going to need to use that curiosity to potentially build the detective controls and the essentially the protections that the attackers are using, because attackers are extremely curious, and that's how they're able to be successful with a lot of their attacks. Phishing is such a simple thing, but it just takes curiosity of someone to be able to click on a fish and get you, you become a victim. So definitely curiosity, a passion for cybersecurity, and how much of this are you doing on your own to learn. Going to school is obviously important and getting your education, but there's still a lot of work that you can put on your own without necessarily having had an information security background or having worked in information security for many years. Just the passion of your own that you're showing for the field sometimes is enough to interest at least me to potentially give someone an opportunity.
And we've heard from all of our colleagues here, and they use, one of my favorite words, which is passion. And to me, when you are talking to someone and you can see their passion, that is so, so important, because that passion will propel them to do great work. And so, I would say, follow your interests, because your interests you'll be passionate about, and this will help you stay and feel good about the direction that you're going in. And when, hiring colleagues, I think of the same thing, that if they're passionate about the work that they're applying to do, then I'm confident that they're going to do great work, because they'll be committed to that and it's something of interest to them.
All right,
If I
thank
can
you
just
all.
add one thing, once you get the position, another thing I feel strongly about is like don't be afraid to acknowledge that you don't know everything. I think oftentimes we start a new job and we think that we're supposed to be the experts and we think we're supposed to know everything and we can't ask questions. And one of the things I find hardest about leading a team in a remote world right now is that I can't see their faces to know if they're confused or lost or having a hard time. And you just please put yourself out there, raise your hand, say, be honest and say that you don't know everything and that you need help with whatever it is. And just being honest about yourself and with your team will help you succeed as well.
Right. Thank you all for sharing that advice. So could you all just share a little bit about the importance of mentorship for you and how mentors along the way have either helped you propel your career or made you consider different fields, and how exactly you were able to seek out those mentors as well?
Okay, I'll start since everyone else was pretty quiet. If I'm brutally honest, when I was more junior in my career, I never really had a mentor. I am usually quiet, like I observe a lot. So I would say I was my own mentor. People informally mentored me by me just watching and observing. And I was really keyed into folks who styles of management leadership I didn't like, so that when I was eventually promoted and I became a leader of a team, I knew the things not to do. As an African-American woman in technology in a field that is dominated predominantly by white men, mentoring is critically important to me. I think it's important from both the female gender perspective, because we don't have a ton still yet, don't have a ton of females in technology. And then from the African-American perspective, because there is still a shortage of technical talent who are quote unquote underrepresented minorities. So I go out of my way to mentor folks, to give them guidance, to give them advice about things I wish I had known earlier in my career. So I would say, don't wait until your junior level, mid-level. Is like start from the very beginning, seeking mentors. Even if they don't formally mentor you, just sit, watch, and observe.
Yeah, I can't say that I've ever had a formal mentor where we've had that you're my mentor relationship. But I think what's important here is to build networks. Try to build your network early on. Because a lot of the success that I've had has been because I've been able to build network and relationships with other people. And naturally, you will start gaining experience from those networks and those relationships that you build. And essentially, you pull the best from everybody, or maybe you pull the worst and know things that you don't want to do or you don't want to be like. So, for some, definitely having a mentor is valuable. I can't say I've ever experienced that one-on-one mentor relationship, but I think there's definitely value in building networks. So reach out to other people, reach out to other students, other teachers, and start building that network. And you'll see that is going to pay a lot of dividends as you progress in your careers. It's really about building that network and that support system to be able to throw an idea at somebody and then have them provide you with feedback and have the dialogue instead of maybe not have just that one-on-one mentor relationship all the time. There's plenty of relationships out there that you can gain instead of just focusing on one or two mentors.
Yeah, I would totally agree with Juan and Nisha. For me, I've had both a formal mentor and I had informal mentors. I think the key is learning from people, tapping into people that you connect with, that you admire, that they're doing something that really impresses you and you wonder, wow, how in the world did they do that? So tap into those folks. It could be your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your teachers, people that are older than you, people that are younger than you. Mentorship is all around us. And so it can be formal, which is great. And if you do choose to have a formal mentor, make sure that person aligns with your success, because they will become your spokesperson. They will connect you to the right people to help you move your chips the way you want to move them. And if you have an informal mentor, allow that person to mold you and share with you their experience that you can learn from. And so I highly value mentorship, and it's really all around us. And don't be afraid to reach in.
I don't have anything to add. Those were all wonderful.
All right, thank you all. We are just running out of time right now, but I'd like to thank our 4 panelists from Realogy for being here today. This was such an insightful conversation, and I'm sure that all the students on the line really gained a lot from hearing each of your perspectives. So I will turn it over to Stephanie for our closing remarks.
Wow, thank you all so much. What time flies when you're having fun, and what a great conversation this was. Certainly a lot of great takeaways on the importance of being passionate in your career and looking for those opportunities to continue learning and working with others and looking for jobs and opportunities where you feel like you're going to be a great fit to that organization and be able to drive forward with that passion that you're going to bring to the table. So we thank our panelists so much for joining us today. We are excited to add this video to our YouTube channel to get it out to even more teachers and students across the state. And thank you so much, Swathi, for moderating this conversation. And with that, we will wrap up the session. Any last closing words before we go to this great panel? All right, well, we will wrap up here. And thank you all so much for joining us today. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.